President Trump has not yet done a State of the Union, but when he does, will the report card be good? Will the border be closed? Will crime be down? Will the economy be ticking along on all cylinders? What is your prediction? This is Sandy Shack in for Jeff Cooner. The number here is 617-266-6868, 617-266-6868. The text number is 70470. It looks like crime is down in D.C., at least where the president brought in the National Guard, and it looks like it was a precipitous fall, at least according to the vice president, who was visiting with some of the National Guard troops in Union Station yesterday, or day before yesterday, actually. Cut 6A, please, Mike.
After the cameras left, Pete and Steve and I stayed and, had lunch with these troops and just learned a lot about what they're seeing, about how much the city has changed in just the past 9 days. So crazy statistic, violent crime has dropped in D.C. 35% in 9 days. Robberies in D.C. have dropped 55% in 9 days. And it highlights the fact that this living with lawlessness and disorder, that's fundamentally a question of political will. If you've got the political will to enforce the law, you can make even cities like D.C. safe again. And that's what we're demonstrating.
35% in 9 days, 55% no burglaries, no murders last week. That's pretty impressive. The president, by the way, went and visited with the National Guard at Union Station and brought them pizza last night. So it looks to be, and he's threatening other blue cities, sanctuary cities and blue cities and cities with high crime rates that, he could do the same for them. So it looks like crime is starting to be affected in a positive method or positive nature. The border is closed. The illegal immigration issue has been, if not completely ended, at least curtailed, and it's being acted upon. Even Trump arch enemy Bernie Sanders admits this. Cut 12A, please, Mike.
Is there anything that you think Trump has done right?
Yeah. I think cracking down on fentanyl, making sure our borders are stronger. Nobody thinks that illegal immigration is appropriate.
Wow. Even Bernie says, nope, it's doing really well. So what about the third big rail, basically, in American politics? You have crime, you've got the border. What about the economy? Is the economy doing well? Is it ticking along? What would your report card be at the State of the Union as to how the economy is doing? The Trump administration says that it's going gangbusters. It's doing really, really well. They're very pleased with how everything is working. But there are a lot of Democrats and acolytes of Democrats who say, no, it is not doing well. Who is giving out the fake news here? Is one of them right and one of them wrong? The Trump administration says our economy is hot, hot, hot. And the Dems don't agree. Boston Mayor Wu, earlier this week, in her Sanctuary City rally, claimed this about the economy. Cut number 5C, please, Mike.
Under the Trump administration, groceries are less affordable. Housing is harder to build. Cures for cancer are farther away. And good news on our economy has been as hard to find as the Epstein list.
First of all, is she right about groceries being more expensive or housing going up? I don't think she is. And just as an aside, that little snarky quip about the Epstein list, just want to point out that the Democrats had full access to the Epstein files for years and never released anything. So the hypocrisy there is just dripping. But more to the point, in regard to the economy, groceries, housing, is that true? Are you finding it more expensive now? Is it, here's the question for you. Are you better off now? Are you worse off now? Or has the status quo been maintained? Is everything the same? And we're going to make that the poll question, which you can take at the Cooner Report It's on X or at WRKO/Cooner. That's sponsored by Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. You can go there and take the question. Are you better off, worse off, or the same as you were last year? That's my question for you. Over at CNBC, Joe Kernan was interviewing House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who made this statement about the economy. Cut number 18, please, Mike.
The erratic tariff policies have created a great deal of uncertainty in the business environment, and uncertainty, of course, doesn't allow for the type of explosive economic growth that we will all like to see here in the United States of America. I think there's no real basis to conclude that Donald Trump has been successful, particularly as it relates to the core issue of driving down the high cost of living in the United States of America, which is too high, which was his fundamental promise to the American people. Costs aren't going down, they're going up.
So he's saying there's no basis for the claim that Trump is economically successful. Is he telling the truth with that? Do you agree with that? Now, Joe Kernan kind of delved in a little bit deeper on that statement. Specifically, he wanted to know what Hakeem Jeffries made of the current economy, given all those claims that Hakeem Jeffries made in the spring that President Trump's tariffs would destroy the economy. In fact, I have a clip from him. This is Hakeem Jeffries last April claiming exactly that. Cut number 6, please, Mike.
Instead of costs going down, which Donald Trump promised would happen on day one of his presidency, costs aren't going down, they're going up. Inflation is going up. Donald Trump and Republicans are actually crashing the economy in real time. You can't make this up.
Well, I guess you can make it up, actually. And I think that's exactly what Hakeem Jeffries was doing. So Kernan is asking, aren't you surprised that what you said last April about the economy crashing hasn't happened? Cut number 18A.
You're surprised that the tariffs haven't had a bigger impact on prices, for example?
I think it remains to be seen where this is headed. I'm deeply concerned that the tariffs are going to exacerbate the inflationary challenges that we already have in the United States of America, the affordability issues that we have in the United States of America, particularly as it relates to consumer goods and consumer goods that are going to be important to the American people as folks prepare to send their children back to school.
What does sending your children back to school have anything to do? I mean, was he struggling to get, for the children reference in there? Is that what he had to do? Is that why he did that? So he's saying inflation is up. My response is, what the hell is he talking about? Even Kernan, and I don't mean to say even in a pejorative fashion, but Kernan couldn't let that pass either. Cut 18B.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know about deflation and costs coming down. All I can tell you is that the inflation rate itself was 2.7% in the most recent read year over year versus it got to a high of 9% under Biden. Stocks are at record highs. Unemployment is 4.2%. That's full employment. The GDP was 3%. The border is actually secure. We've got trade deals with EU, Japan, many more in the works, and trillions of dollars of foreign investment coming here. Iran's nuclear ambitions have been set back indefinitely. And I just wrote down a few things. So I just have to ask you, where is the calamity that you're talking about? And it almost seems like for Democrats, socialism is the answer to these problems, or I don't know, an end of democracy or something. We just don't get it.
I don't get it either. Do you? I mean, Kernan did a good job just listing the successes that President Trump has had recently. Where is the destruction, the calamity, the chaos that Hakeem Jeffries and the other Democrats promised last spring? And when his feet were put to the fire, the way Kernan just did, and said, what the hell? Do you know what Jeffrey's response was? I This just floors me. Cut 18C, please, Mike.
Actually, I'll tell you what we stand for, Joe. It's pretty clear. As Democrats, we believe in a strong floor and no ceiling. In America, you work hard, you play by the rules. You should be able to live the good life. And there should be no ceiling on your success, on your capacity to do anything in the United States of America. That's the great promise of this country. At the same period of time, there should be a strong floor.
Okay. What the hell is he talking about? Because the question was, where is the destruction you promised that you said was going to happen? And then this is what we get. There's a strong floor and a ceiling. Does that remind you of anybody? That kind of word patter, word salad? Because if it doesn't, I want to jog your memory a little bit. Cut number 7, Mike.
To remember the context in which you exist. Yeah, I did that.
Ben, there are those who are unable to see what can be. But there are many more who are able to see what can be unburdened by what has been.
Does that ring a bell? The word salad of Kamala Harris? Are you better or worse off than you were a year ago? Dems want you to believe that it's worse off, that the economy is in chaos. Are they right? Or are President Trump's assurances that the economy is hot, hot, hot more truthful and to the point? What do your own eyes and or wallet tell you what's going on? And I want to replay for you, just because it's just symbolic to me of the Democrat response to President Trump's economic policies. The part of the interview again with Hakeem Jeffries on CNBC with Joe Kernan. This was Joe Kernan's, after Hakeem Jeffries came on and said the economy is in free fall, basically. Joe Kernan came back and said this, cut 18B.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know about deflation and costs coming down. All I can tell you is that the inflation rate itself was 2.7% in the most recent read year over year versus it got to a high of 9% under Biden. Stocks are at record highs. Unemployment is 4.2%. That's full employment. The GDP was 3%. The border is actually secure. We've got trade deals with EU, Japan, many more in the works, and trillions of dollars of foreign investment coming here. Iran's nuclear ambitions have been set back indefinitely. And I just wrote down a few things. So I just have to ask you, where is the calamity that you're talking about? And it almost seems like for Democrats, socialism is the answer to these problems, or I don't know, an end of democracy or something. We just don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either, and I'm not sure Hakeem Jeffries got it, because this was his response. 18C.
Actually, I'll tell you what we stand for, Joe. It's pretty clear. As Democrats, we believe in a strong floor and no ceiling. In America, you work hard, you play by the rules. You should be able to live the good life. And there should be no ceiling on your success, on your capacity to do anything in the United States of America. That's the great promise of this country. At the same period of time, there should be a strong floor.
What the hell is he saying? You know, are naysayers like Hakeem Jeffries just hoping that you will be so confused by what they say, what they utter, that you will just go away, that you'll stop asking questions? Or is your response to statements like that, word salad like that, supposed to confuse you to the point where you just say, well, I better trust him because he obviously knows what he's talking about and I can't even decipher that. So that they know best, is that what he's trying to tell us by giving us a confusing response? You know, and are these bizarre, confusing responses that people like Hakeem Jeffries give, are they helping them or are they hurting them? Are they convincing you not to trust your lying eyes? Or are you going, what the hell is wrong with the Democratic Party? Because I'm not paying $7 for a dozen eggs anymore. How is this response helping them? Is it? I think when politicians or media or any kind of talking heads respond like that, they're betting that your confused state by their response, trying to figure out what the hell they said, is going to make you just defer to them and not do something as radical as look up what the reality is or look at your own personal situation to determine what the truth of the situation is. I think that's what they're betting on. I want to know, regardless of what Hakeem Jeffries says, regardless of what the Trump administration says, do you feel that you're better off? I think that's your first clue as to who is telling the truth here. Let's go to Rich in Natick. Rich, welcome to WRKO. How are you, sir?
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's so expensive I can't even pay attention.
Aw, very funny.
Yeah.
But I need a rim shot, but we don't have. I don't think we have one. But I'm going to make sure that Jeff gets one, so he has one too for the witty one-liners that come across. Go ahead, Rich.
So yeah, I see some things in price coming down. Gas has been pretty, flat, sort of leveling around $2.93 a gallon. Some of the food prices have come down. Eggs come down a little bit. But overall, things are still a little high. And I understand things don't happen overnight, and with Hakeem Jeffries, I don't even understand why you guys quote people like him. He's a moron, right? And unfortunately, you can't show his stupid hand gestures on radio. But,
I can't believe I think nobody is served by ignoring opposition. I think you need to know what it is that people are trying to sell you, basically, or what people are putting out there as the truth, because how else can you combat it with actual truth unless you know what it is that they're saying?
I guess I should maybe rephrase it. I can't believe people are in leadership positions like him and others that say the stuff they do. When you talk about the word salad, right, those are people that lie on the fly or either just totally clueless. I believe they're all actors, and when they lie on the fly, they're trying to sound like they know what they're talking about, but their brain can't make up the lies fast enough, and that's when they mumble, that's when they hesitate, that's when you get the word salad.
Yeah, and I think, Rich, to your point as well, I think they're also assuming that if you don't understand them, then you're going to assume that they are smarter than, a lot of people will assume that they are smarter than you are, and then, trust what they say, as opposed to going, what the hell are you talking about? That's not true. I mean, that, I think, is what they were used to for a long time with the American public, and I think that answers your question, how do people like Hakeem Jeffries get elected? I think he gives confusing responses. Sounds like he knows what he's talking about, and people go, well, he must know more than I do. So I'm going to trust him to do the job, as opposed to look at it as a con job, which is how I view it.
And because we have a two-party system, they're going to go against Trump no matter what. I mean, they if Trump saves somebody from drowning in the ocean, they say he was starving the sharks. I mean, he's just, so they're not, even on the regular news, Channel 4, 5, and 7, and 25 around the Boston area here, almost everything, every day there's something it's just, and they'll put 8 things about Trump, and 7 of them will be negative, and you'll see the looks on the face of the newscasters, they give looks also on their face. It's a joke.
Yeah, I have noticed it. Do you think that's getting any better, though, given all of President Trump's successes? And Joe Kernan, I thought, did a very good job listing those in that cut. Do you think that that's lightening up a little bit since, in the first 200 days of President Trump's administration?
I see it only very slightly, and it's only because you see a lot of these, people getting...
Yeah, I'm sorry, Rich. We had to stop you there because we're up against a hard break and Mike has the off button. So this is Sandy Shack sitting in for Jeff Cooner, asking whether you are better off than you were a year ago. And our last caller, Rich from Natick, who we had to leave because we're up against a break, said he's a little bit better off. But we were talking about, how do people like Hakeem Jeffries, who wants you to believe that we're in economic downfall and chaos, and when asked to explain himself says, I don't know what. I can't even explain what he said. Talking about a strong floor and no ceiling. And the question is, how do people like that get elected? And one of our texters, Rich, if you're still listening, had a response. 603 says, ignorant people will vote for ignorant leaders. Yeah, I think that's true. And I think that's on us. Not all of us. I think some people make an effort to actually look into things, to do some research and to find what the truth of the matter is, and not just go, oh, I didn't understand him. He must be smarter than I am. I think that's how people like Hakeem Jeffries get elected. People think, well, he must know what he's talking about. And he treats us like we're stupid. So I think it's kind of, people fall for it. I think that's what happens. And what we have now are the anti-Trumpers who are refusing to recognize any positive gains in any Trump policies. And those are the people that want you to believe that we are in some kind of economic chaos or downfall. And they don't want you to look around you and see what your own personal situation is. So I think the first step toward recognizing whether we are on the right track or not in the United States under this administration is to look at your own environment. Is anything better than it was a year ago? Is it worse? If it's not worse, then at least I think you're moving forward in that, because we were in downfall. In the Biden administration, we were in an economic downfall. So if that fall has stopped, that in and of itself is positive. But are you moving forward, even if it's a small amount? President Trump has only been in office for a little over 200 days. Are we moving forward? Is it the same? Forward and same, I think. Those are both positive. Worse, obviously not. So what is happening in your world? Jimmy in Dorchester, welcome to WRKO. How are you, Jimmy?
Okay, Trump's not to blame for this. Trump is trying to do as much as he can, which is impossible, but he'll succeed if you give him time. People got to be patient. Mm-hmm. These Democrats brought in 60, maybe 70 million illegals into this country and the getaways. I'll give you an example, like the mayor of Boston. She's a hypocrite. She's caused this chaos by keeping a lot of these American people that are disabled and homeless. There's so many. And now I walk the streets. I go out, I give gift cards to the women, especially because there's so many of them. You're not going to believe it in this state. The governor and the mayor should apologize for telling lies about how safe this city is. They're a bunch of hypocritical liars. I'm gonna shock you. There's a park called Pope John Park. She should take a ride there, and see for herself. A police officer 4 years ago showed me how many homeless were in Pope John Park. It's a beautiful park, and underneath the expressway right now there used to be like 90. There's close to 400 homeless that come there day and night, and it's basically a lot of women. You go into Andrews Square. Mark and Cassie, whatever it's called, from Southampton Street, the hookers are coming into Andrews Square, South Boston, where the houses go for $1 million and $2 million. And you know what they're doing at the red lights there? They're getting their Johns. They arrested 18 Johns last week. There was police presence where they went after the Johns into that beautiful neighborhood where the houses now that are building houses, they go for $2 million. All you're seeing is these hookers coming around and climbing into cars while they're stopped, jumping into the cars. And I asked some of these, why are you doing it? We don't have money. We're homeless. We're on the streets. I'm telling you, it's pitiful, and they say that we're to blame. They're the ones that brought all of this onto us. The crime, everything, it's on their hand. And Wu said it's so safe. She's got security when she goes out somewhere. Who in their right mind would walk through the Common at, say, 10 o'clock? Or look at the State House. Somebody threw paints at it. If it's so secure where the State House is, how come they vandalized it? Remember with all the paint?
Yeah, I do. I do, Jimmy. I know it breaks my heart. I drive down near Melnia Cass on a regular basis as well, and so I've seen what you're talking about, and I have seen people crying on the street because they have no place to go, and it breaks my heart, and as it does yours. And I think we are on the road to helping them. We're obviously not there yet, and I think you're placing the blame on Mayor Wu and Governor Healy is right. I think that's adequate. I think that they're not, and on top of all of that, what they're doing now, besides these policies that have broken our economy and created the homelessness and the despair that you see, I think on top of that, they're thumbing their nose, or they're flipping the Trump administration the bird, saying, go ahead, cut off our federal funding, is appalling, because who do you think is going to pay for that? Who do you think? It's not going to be you or me, Jimmy. It's going to be those people down there who are no longer going to have access to whatever little they have access to now anyway. So all the social services that are needed to help a lot of those people get back on their feet or become self-sustaining again will be gone, because our governor and the mayor of Boston think it's more important to flex their socialist muscles, or independent muscles, I guess they would call it, and show that they don't support Donald Trump, than they care about getting the money to help these people that need our assistance. So I think that's absolutely correct, and I'm with you when you say that you find it distressing. I do as well. But I think that if we could just bring a little bipartisanship back in here again and focus on what President Trump is doing right on the economy, then, we'll, put the politics aside. Stop trying to convince everybody that Donald Trump is doing a bad job on the economy. He's not. Is it this the land of milk and honey again? It isn't. But it's heading in that direction. That's how I feel it is. Some things in my life are more expensive, but those are things that were going up anyway, that were going to continue to go up. A lot of things are less expensive, and they could be even lower, but it's heading in the right direction. So for most things in my life, it's either the same or getting better. And I think that's true for a lot of people, but I could be wrong. But I want to know how it's going with you. Thank you for the call, Jimmy. I appreciate it very much. Let's go to Dave in Pennsylvania. Dave, welcome to the Cooner Report.
Hey, Sandy, you're doing an awesome job. You and Mike tagging up this morning.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So is your life better than it was, Dave?
Oh, yeah, definitely. First of all, nothing against you guys. Moving away from Massachusetts in 2011 was one of the best moves I ever made, and marrying a beautiful Pittsburgh woman like my wife, Nancy. Third of all, Hakeem Jeffries is nothing but a blowhard, Sandy. I don't know if you heard this report, but Democratic enrollment in their party is dropped by 35 to 40% around the country, Sandy. Here in Pennsylvania, especially Western, it's dropped by like 67%. I know Democrats who I never thought would ever leave their party have left, Sandy. And then Hakeem Jeffries with the word salad. I mean, it's like 12-day-old salad gone bad. And the green is nothing but gangrene building up on his mouth.
Cracking yourself up there a little bit, aren't you, Dave? Yeah. So, no, I don't disagree. But why do you think he does it? Does he think we're stupid? Or does he is it just habit now? Doesn't know what to say, so he just does this little tap dance and hope that nobody notices. Is it deliberate, or is it just nowhere else to go? What do you think, Dave?
I'm going to go with the tap dancing you said. It's nothing but a bunch of BS, Sandy. Because you know what? If Donald Trump said if the trees were blue, the Democrats would disagree and say they're purple. And it's always the opposite of what Trump says. And what Trump says, it's 90% correct. I'm not saying it's 100. No one's really perfect at 100. But, Sandy, it's just in the media backs up this rigmarole. I mean, like MSNBC changing their name to MS Now or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's still the same bile. That's all it is.
Yeah, it is. They're just hoping a little bit of rebranding. We'll see if they actually make any substantive changes. But it's just, the MSNBC, the brand was just so bad with the ratings that they had nowhere. And by the way, it was part of this big, merger, this big deal. But that's the only network that's having to rebrand in the deal. It's the only one. So, yeah, I think that people have finally figured out that they have been patronized for a minimal 4 years, probably more than that, and that they've been lied to and treated like they're stupid, and they're just tired of it. This is Sandy Shack sitting in for Jeff Kuhner here on the Cooner Report. The Dems want you to believe the economy is in free fall. The Trump administration says, don't be silly. We're cooking with gas. What does your daily life tell you? Who is telling the truth? If we look at the actual statistic numbers for the first 200 days of Donald Trump's presidency, the GDP grew at 3% per year in the second quarter. The unemployment rate is 4.2%, which, by the way, is full employment. The S&P 500 is up 6% since he took office. These are all indicia of not an economy in chaos, but an economy that's doing really well. It may not be boomtown yet, but it's certainly heading in that direction, or at least I believe it is. So who do you think is telling the truth about the economy? Is it the Trump administration or Democrats like Hakeem Jeffries? Or is it somewhere in between, given your personal experience? Let's talk to Mark in Medford. Mark, welcome to WRKO. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Sandy. How are you? Nice to hear your voice.
Thank you.
So when you got people like Hakeem Jeffries, he cracks me up. When Kuhner cornered him and listed all the good things that Trump did, that was Hakeem Jeffries' answer. They don't even have a comeback when you have something against them. It cracks me up. I'm going to be honest with you, Sandy. If they keep up this nonsense, I mean, I've seen them on TV make fools of themselves, embarrass themselves, say stupid things, do stupid things, and do they not know that people are laughing at them? When you see people like Jasmine Crockett and Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries say the stupidest things that ever to come out of somebody's mouth. If they keep this up, one of two things is going to happen, Sandy. Number one, the Democratic Party is not going to exist anymore. Or two, they'll never, ever, ever win another election again.
Well, I think that's where they're headed, Mark. If they don't, I think that one of the big issues that they have is that they think we're stupid. They have treated the electorate, the American people, as if we're dumb as a box of rocks. And that may have worked for some point in time, and then people began to realize when they were told that something was green and they're looking at it with their own eyes and it's blue, and they're like, "Well, wait a minute, I don't get that." They begin to realize that they're being talked down to, that they're not being held in any, or they're not respected, I guess is the best term. They're not being respected by these leaders. And that to me was the kind of response that Hakeem Jeffries gave. It was lacking of respect of anybody who was listening to him when he's faced with that list, that laundry list that Joe Kernan gave of things that President Trump has done right, which was impressive. Inflation down to 2.7 from 9% in Biden's administration, Iran being denuked, unemployment full, GDP at 3%, trade deals, that have bringing in billions, all this investment. And your response is, well, we believe that a floor needs to be solid and no ceiling. Okay. And are you going to ever answer my question that what does that have to do with the fact that you basically predicted chaos, yet this is what is happening? I think maybe 5 years ago that worked, Mark. But now people go, do you think I'm stupid? I mean, that's what I see happening more and more. Do you agree?
1,000%, Sandy. I mean, it's so repetitive. Every time you ask them a question, they answer it with something totally different that had nothing to do with the question that you asked them. And it's like, even with the media, it's so repetitive. They read from the same exact script over and over and over again. They just sound like they're in the same room together, and they just put the camera on the next person from a different station and says the exact same thing.
Yeah, Mark, it's like, I agree with you. It's like they have a Zoom meeting at like 5 a.m. Let's have a Zoom meeting. All the networks get together. These are the talking points, and they all have the same piece of paper in front of them, and they go out and parrot the same thing. And we've seen that happen over and over again because, there'll be an odd phrase that you don't normally hear, and every single one of them uses it. And how does that happen unless it originates at a single source? And that source is certainly, been very, very busy. And I think it's called the DNC, or whoever the deep state is that is promoting the Democratic Party. Maybe it originates there. I'm not sure, but I think it originates in one of those places, Mark, I have to say. But do you think they're hurting themselves now, Mark?
Sandy, they're burying themselves. They have the shovel in their own hands, and they're digging their own graves. I mean, it's sad to watch the way a whole party can just implode the way it is. I kind of feel sorry for them, but you know what? On the other hand, I don't.
Well, they've wreaked such havoc on us. I think that's why you don't feel sorry. And in true fashion, I don't think it's just me that feels this way, but whatever they accuse somebody else of doing is usually what they themselves have done. So when they say President Trump is going to create economic chaos and destroy the economy, you have to turn around and look at them and say, did you create economic chaos and destroy the economy? And in this case, I think the answer was yes.
I was just going to say that. It's like when they say that, it's like, no, you already did that. Now Donald Trump is trying to fix it. I mean, look when you see on the news, you never hear anything. Have you heard anything about on local news or on CNN or MSNBC or any of those states that Trump won his appeal?
Yeah. No, yes, he did. Yes, he did. They said, no, that was overkill. The amount was complete overkill. So yeah, so we'll see. There's probably going to be another layer of litigation regarding that. But yeah, no, I have not seen it on any of the major networks, as a matter of fact, and I have them all on in the newsroom. Thank you so much for the call, Mark. I appreciate it. Drive safe. Have a good day. To your point about how the Democrats do something, break something, and then accuse the other side of doing it, on the text line, which is 70470, 781 says, the Democrat playbook is to break everything, overwhelm industry and production, snatch control of energy, sideline and disrupt economies, displace workers, then watch and root for society to be wrecked. A burn this be down assault on marketplace. Block every attempt to repair all their damages. Notice how they refuse to lift a finger to fix anything. Just unhinged screeds. Disgraceful. Oh, and waiting in the wings, the communist solution to problems they themselves created. I think that's a pretty apt description of the Democrat playbook. And I think you saw that with Hakeem Jeffries, who, last April is, as we played the cut for you earlier, is saying, no, that Donald Trump's tariffs, his policies are going to destroy. We're going into a recession, or we're heading towards stagflation, or it's all going to be horrible. He's destroying the economy. And 6 months later, when CNBC, who, by the way, have in the past been water carriers for the Democratic Party, even they're just like, yeah, no. Everything's going really well. What do you have to say to that? And his response is, wood floor, strong ceiling, no floor. What kind of floor? I don't know. Is it parquet? I mean, he has no response, because I think the texter is right. He doesn't want to expose the fact that they, in fact, created the problems that he was predicting. But Donald Trump is fixing them. At least I believe he's fixing them. How is the economy working for you? Has it gotten better since Joe Biden left office? Is it the same, or do you believe we're headed in the right direction? Bruce in Woburn, welcome to WRKO. How are you, Bruce? Aren't you kind?
And that howl is for you, Sandy.
Thank you, Bruce.
Because you deserve all the flowers anybody can give you. You and Mike and Jeff. I got to put Jeff in there. I got to give him a little credit there. But you guys are the only ones that are really telling the truth out there. Well, Fox is doing a good job, and I was losing faith with them. But I don't believe none of these lies, especially with Hakeem Jeffries. He's so disgusting, and it's sort of like, oh no, we're never gonna make it kind of guy. You know what I mean? Are you kidding me? What the hole they dug us into, and we're trying to climb out of it, and we're not trying, we're sending it. And Janet Wu, they're coming for you. And make no mistake.
You mean
about
Michelle
it.
Wu?
Well, yeah.
You said Janet Wu. Yeah.
Well, there's so many Wus out there. I lose track of who's who. It's just unbelievable, Sandy. Like I said, you do a great job.
Thank you, Bruce. Well, let me ask you: are you doing better than you were a year ago?
Oh hell yeah! I mean, it's not like I hit the Powerball or nothing, but if I did, I know where I would do. I'd go right to St. Jude's Hospital and give a few $1 million to these poor kids that are suffering, and I would help people out that need help more than me, because I help myself. I work as hard as I can for being almost 69-year-old guy. I'm not giving up, and I'm not giving up on this country, and I'm not listening to the communist lies, and they just keep spewing these lies and shoveling the crap, and I'm not falling for it. I have faith, and I believe in God. I believe in Jeff Cooner country. I believe in you. I believe in Donald Trump, especially. But Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, and I just know that he's looking out for us as well. And God bless America.
Well, I can't disagree with anything you just said, Bruce. So the interesting thing to me is not just that the Trump faithful are feeling good about how things are going, but it's very interesting to me that people who are not Trump faithful, there are some, a lot of independents who weren't sure about Trump, and some Democrats who definitely were not sure about Trump, are starting to look around and go, well, wait a minute. He has done A, B, C, D, E. I mean, he has done all these things. Maybe I was wrong. And we've seen that coming out. And I think one of the reasons why you have people starting to turn around is because they do look at their personal environment. They do look at their own economy. They look at, how they're doing on a day-to-day basis. Can they afford to do something they couldn't do a year ago? Are they feeling better about possibly retiring? All these things add up. And there is an optimism there now that I think was not there a year ago. And it flies directly in the face of what the Democrats said would be happening, Bruce. I don't know if you remember, but the Democrats' big prediction where Donald Trump was coming into office was that there was going to be a recession as soon as Donald Trump took over. It was going to be an economic Armageddon. I have a little montage of, I think it's Senator Merkley, Congresswoman Jayapal, and Massachusetts' own Ed Markey saying, get ready for a rough ride. Cut number 8, please, Mike.
Well, Trump is driving us into a recession. He's doing it deliberately, cultivating complete chaos in everything he does. These tariffs are on, these tariffs are off. Stock market is diving. People don't know where and how to invest. He's firing people left and right with no thought about what works and doesn't. Not about efficiency. It's about tearing down and replacing professionals with lackeys. So the Trump recession is on its way.
Don't have tariffs. Trump could stop being so irresponsible about the economy and make sure that we're driving costs down instead of up, and stop the trade wars with indiscriminate sweeping tariffs.
Trump has to avoid his indiscriminate, ham-handed tariffs that are absolutely frightening the markets, that are frightening small businesses all across our country. And he has to just stop with his indiscriminate cuts to programs which actually provide the economic incentive for the creation of jobs in our society.
Wow, ham-handed tariffs. And, oh my God, the costs are going to soar. Inflation is down to 2.7%, down from 9% under President Biden. Does that sound like, it's a recession apocalypse going on there, Bruce, to you?
No. I mean, I wish that I'd be doing better but I'd be doing a lot better I can't really say had Trump been in office when Biden was stealing and they all the wheeling and dealing that they did, but somehow
you don't know what would happen if President Trump had and Joe Biden had not taken office and President Trump had taken office instead. But we know what's happening now, and what's happening now is a turnaround in the economy. I think it's going to take a while for it, because an economy, it's like a ship. If you when I was a little girl growing up, my dad had a boat in a little sailboat in Annapolis, and we would go out into Chesapeake Bay, and the big boats have right of way because it takes them forever to stop and to turn. If you decide to stop a big boat, it's going to go like 5 football fields before it stops, whereas a little boat, you can stop immediately by just tossing the anchor over. The economy is like that big boat. It takes a while for the user, for anything the user does, to actually have an effect on the ship itself. And President Trump has been in office a little over 200 days. And already, even though he's got this big unwieldy ship, there are positive things that are happening. And I think that we are headed in the right direction. And I think the best way to determine for each of us, every single one of us, whether things are headed positively, are to look at your own life. Are you in heaven now economically? Probably not. But it's going to take a while for the damage in the last 4 years to be rectified. But the ship is turning. I can see it turning. And I guess my question for you is, can you see it turning as well? Thank you for the call, Bruce. The number here is 617-266-6868, 617-266-6868. This is Sandy Shack sitting in for Jeff Cooner. Carrie in West Bridgewater, welcome to WRKO. How are you, Carrie?
I'm great, Sandy. Sandy, you know how I know things are turning around? And this is just strictly a personal anecdote from my own life.
Uh-huh.
I have had an online savings account for years and years. And every 2 weeks, I have $100 out of my paycheck put into this account. And I used to have a better paying job. I was laid off during the Obama years. But during that time, the savings account grew up. It'd be like between $6,000 and $8,000 in this account. Mm-hmm. And it was like my mad money, for Christmas or a vacation or a car repair or, something.
An emergency.
I had this money. Yeah. Over the past 4 years, I have had to dip into that account. I could maybe get it up to $1,200, and I would have to take money out just to pay bills.
Aww.
And it occurred to me the other day, I said, I haven't touched this account since December of 2024. So I've now got almost $2,000 in this account. I have no need to. That's how I know. I don't have to dip into my savings to pay for food or pay for expenses. I can now start being responsible and keep saving and just, it's like mad money. Set it and forget it. That's how I know the economy has turned around. I don't have to touch my savings.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, Carrie. It's the little things. And not that I'm saying a savings account's a little thing. It isn't. It's the difference between feeling anxiety and being able to sleep and not being able to sleep is having an account. It doesn't have to have, $30,000-$40,000 in it. Just, $5,000-$6,000 in something, or $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. As long as there's something there that that you can take care of a surprise, and that makes you sleep better at night. It's the things like that I think are the indicia of a good economy. I take it you agree.
I'm thrilled. I'm the daughter of a banker, so saving has been drilled into my sister and I since we were kids. You have to save, and so we always did. But there were times when I thought of even giving up that account just so I'd have the money immediately.
Yeah.
But I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't. And I just keep putting money away and.
You're breaking up, Carrie. I'm sorry.
Good for...
Oh, you're back.
It's great for emergencies, and I encourage everyone, even if it's $50 a paycheck, just set it and forget it. You won't miss it, and especially now, you can actually start saving some money.
Yeah, and when that surprise happens, the vet bill or the the car craps out, or the water heater goes, or like you said, something happens, there's an unforeseen medical bill. You don't have to stress about it because you have something that's going to help you, and you can still be independent. And that, I think, is worth everything. Being able to sleep at night is a very important thing. And I think a lot of us lost that during the Biden administration. And where not just on an economic level, but on where are we going level on top of it. And I think people are sleeping better. Well, that's a good question for people, don't you think, Carrie? Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping better because you have your savings account back?
I am. I certainly am. I'm very happy. And what's nice about having that money, too, is that if something comes up, you don't have to put it on a credit card to pay, the interest on a credit card. You can just pull it right out. There it is. It's cash.
Yeah.
Keep it,
Yeah. Well, good. Congratulations to you, Carrie. I'm impressed. I think that's a wonderful indicia of the fact that things are starting to turn around, that you can start saving money again when you couldn't before. I mean, I remember, what was it, like a year and a half, 2 years ago? If I went to the grocery store, I had to literally list, there were no impulsive buys for me in the grocery store. It was everything I was going to buy was on my list, and I had budgeted for it because there was no extra money. I had to stay within that, and I had to plan every single meal, to do that, to make sure that I stayed within budget and everybody was, fed and everything was positive. And that's, while I'm still careful when I go to the grocery store, I don't have to do it to that extent anymore. I can, if I see something, if there's something that I didn't realize that they had, or I see a special on meat, or I see something a new product I haven't seen before, I don't have to walk by it. I can buy it if I want to, and still, feel good about it. I think that's one of the little things that's made a difference for me, and I don't know about for you. Thank you so much for the call, Carrie. I appreciate it very much. So what has changed in your economic life? Is it better? Is it worse? Is it the same? This is Cindy Shack sitting in for Jeff Cooner here on the Cooner Report. And the Cooner Country Poll question today, which is brought to you by Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows, is your personal economy better, worse, or the same? You can take it on X at the Cooner Report or at WRKO/Cooner. Mine is getting better. It could be a lot better, but I think it's heading in the right direction. What about yours? Sal in Wakefield. Welcome to WRKO. How are you, Sal?
Good morning, Sandy. The mainstream media, they forget. They purposely forget. Do you remember at this time during Biden's administration, prices just went up and up and up, and we all saw it. We felt it. There were stickers being made that said, "I did that." People were putting them on gas pumps. They were putting them on steaks and chicken at the grocery store. Do you remember that?
I do. Yeah.
Selective memory. And it's going to just take some time. If anything, things are kind of just have, stayed leveled off. Prices aren't going up. It's just going to take some time. It's going to take a while to fix what a disaster it was. And if you look at the inflation was 9% at the highest, but they said actually food, if you factored in food and fuel, it was in the double digits.
Mm-hmm.
So that was actual inflation. I mean, these people are crazy. They didn't say a word. It's transitory, and they're saying, it's just from COVID, and, all that. It was all, bull,
Do you remember, and it goes back before Biden, too, do you remember during the Obama administration when I guess the GDP numbers came out and it was like 1.5%, and President Obama came out and tried to tell us that was going to be the new normal, that, this is what a modern economy looks like, so as not to, and a lot of people bought that. And then, when you had President Trump come in and the economy started going up until COVID hit, and then Biden came back in and going down again. And then Trump comes back in, and where are we now? 3%. What happened to that new normal that Obama was telling us about, Sal?
Well, the new normal, that was his whole plan. He wanted he went on the apology tour. We know about that. He wanted the United States to be no different than any other country. And he's admitted that. Didn't he say we need to be knocked down a few pegs?
Yeah.
Or something like that?
Yeah, basically. He went on the apology tour through Europe for the U.S., apologizing for us, too, which is another issue that, another thing that the Democrats did that I take issue with. But so I think that within the next year or so, we'll start seeing some real economic gains. I think we've already started to see them. But I think you're right in that taking things not getting worse is a positive step. And then I think you're seeing incremental steps across the board. And all the while, President Trump is paying down our debt. He's getting billions of dollars through the tariffs to pay down our debt and to getting foreign investment in the country as well, bringing, billions of dollars in to help bring up our manufacturing and our industry, all of which will have a ripple effect on everybody's economy, I believe. So I think he is certainly going in the right direction. Thank you so much for the call, Sal. I appreciate it. So far, none of the dire predictions of the Democrats have happened. The recession one, I played for you that cut before they're all predicting a recession. That hasn't happened, nor has the stagflation. And in case you're wondering what the definition of stagflation is, because it's not exactly a term you use in everyday conversation. It's an economy that's characterized by high inflation, slow or stagnant growth, and high unemployment, which is a very toxic combination. And usually it's a sluggish economy that leads to low inflation, and then the Federal Reserve has to cut interest rates to stimulate more borrowing and activity. And that's how it works. That's how the Fed usually responds to the economy. The problem that Donald Trump has now is that you've got Jerome Powell as the Fed chair, and he doesn't really want to cut interest rates to stimulate more borrowing and activity. So stagflation could come about if the Fed doesn't do its job, unless the economy is already so strong that the Federal Reserve can't capsize it, no matter what they do. And I think that's what President Trump is trying to do now. I mean, he bitches a lot about Jerome Powell, too late Powell, not raising the interest rates, and they haven't so far. They did, they cut the interest rates just before the election to help Biden, but that didn't have any effect on the election in the long run, nor did it have much of an effect on the economy. So the Fed has to now decide whether to lower rates to bolster the labor market, and to see if that would drive up inflation or not. Consumer prices have eased substantially. We're waiting to see what the Feds are going to do, but stagflation hasn't happened. A recession hasn't happened. None of these things have happened. So, where are the positive reports that we should be seeing from people like Moody's or the other economic reporters? I mean, we've seen positive reports coming from CNBC, which is a shock and surprise. But I guess they decided that they better start reporting the truth, and that's what they've been doing. But Moody's was one of the ones that predicted that President Trump's economic blueprint was going to spark a recession by right now where we are now, and it hasn't happened. So President Trump's use of the tariffs so far has had a positive effect. He's reached deals with Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, the UK. And, he said at first he was going to come in with these high double-digit tariffs, and instead has set them between generally 10 to 20%, which has been good. And in fact, it's been so good that Moody's has had to change its forecast and now say, okay, we thought there would be a recession by, mid 2025. Maybe we were wrong. So, all right, maybe Trump was right about the tariffs. Moody's now says nearly half the point that Trump's policies are now going to be a positive effect on us. And that's a shocker. I'm surprised that Moody's did that. I'm grateful that Moody's did that, because that's going to reach more people who are going to turn around and invest. And maybe the Federal Reserve will decide that it has to play fair and not play politics. And maybe all of this will help roll our economy along. But I think right now the ship is starting to turn. And I think we're all starting to see it in our daily lives. It doesn't mean that you all of a sudden you have tens of thousands of dollars more than you had before. But I think life is getting a little bit easier for people. This is the Cooner Report. I'm sitting in for Jeff Cooner. The economy is starting to turn around, so much so that legacy media like MSM, CNBC, Moody's, they can no longer hide the positive results, no matter how mad that makes the Democrats. Do you think that the Dems are ever going to admit that President Trump is an economic success? Do you think he is when you look at your personal economy? Sal on the North Shore, welcome to WRKO. How are you, Sal?
Well, good. I was just going to say, prices are still high in the supermarkets, and I think just because the genie's out of the bottle, they're not going to lower their prices, even though wholesale index prices have gone down. I mean, they're not going to just lower their prices for everybody. The prices are high. People are paying it, so they're just going to stay status quo.
I got two words for you, Sal. Market basket.
The market basket. And to be honest with you, market basket has even got a little more expensive in the last couple of years. I mean, they used to be a great place to shop. They still are, obviously. Yeah.
But I'm just saying I have seen prices actually, not across the board. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying I have seen things go back down at Market Basket. When they get a deal on something, they pass it on to you.
I agree. But when a bag of Doritos is like $2 for $8 or whatever they charge, I mean, they're not going to lower their price. Like Pepsi and Coke, they're not going to lower their prices. But as for Trump, I mean, he's an awesome president. He's very pragmatic. He'll take a problem and he'll think about it and he'll get it done. I love seeing the Democrats' heads explode every day. It's hysterical. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries is probably one of the... I mean, I could get my dog to probably do a better job than the Democrats, and then you get Newsom out there in California, which is probably one of the worst states. My wife's from California. We go out there and people complain all the time about how bad the state is. I'm like, why do you keep voting this idiot in? And they're like, it's not us,
Yeah.
But as far as the economy, I think it will get better. I think the tariffs will help. I just think it's going to take time. Biden screwed everything up for 4 years. He was such a weird guy and a weird president, and he had Kamala Harris, obviously, who was a terrible vice president. And his administration was terrible. So I think by next year, mid next year, you'll definitely see things turn around.
Yeah, I think so. I share your optimism. I think so too. And I agree with you. I mean, it still costs an arm and a leg to go to the grocery store, but I have noticed the prices have gone down on the basic things that I use. I no longer have to, like if I'm going through and saw something that wasn't on my list, I would walk by it a year ago. I don't have to do that now. It's not, and I'm certainly didn't get a raise at work. It's just that it's a little bit easy. It's a little bit easier. It could be a lot more easier, but it's a little bit easier. And that's how I judge how things are doing. And like our earlier caller, I too have been able to start building up my savings account too, where I couldn't before. And little things like that, they're baby steps, Sal, but they show me that we're headed in the right direction, don't you think?
Just another thing, me and my wife go to California, like I said, her brother's out there, and, they go buy groceries for him out in California, and she gets like 5 or 6 bags of groceries, and it's like $300 or $400.
Wow.
It's crazy out there.
Yeah. Yeah, things are very expensive out there. I have relatives out there too, and who have decided they were thinking about trying to buy a house. They decided not in California. They're going to take their nest egg, I think, and while they stay in California, I think they're just going to rent because they don't want to invest in this state which they see going down the tubes, basically. So they're afraid that if they put their very hard-earned money into real estate out there, that their property values are going to go down because the tax base is getting unwieldy, and God help you if you're in a wildfire area, because those people have not been able to do anything. The mayor was saying, "Oh, we're going to have this, we're going to help you do this," and they've done nothing. By the way, the same is pretty much true in Lahaina, where, when they caught fire during President Biden's administration, they haven't been able to rebuild really very much either, unless you're a billion-dollar corporation coming in and buying up people's lands. It's the same type of situation. So thank you for the call, Sal. I appreciate it very much. I think things are getting better. And I think the president is making some strides. And one of the tools that he used in turning the economy around, of course, is the big, beautiful bill that they just passed recently. That's a couple of nice little things in there, I think, to help people out, like scrapping taxes on tips up to $25,000. I know no more taxes on Social Security. That's going to help people. Then you've got, and you also got the tax reconciliation law, which is going to help by improving 3 tax policies that help working parents afford child care, and also gets employers involved in that. You have the Child Independent Care Tax Credit, you have the Employer-Provided Child Care Credit, and you have the Dependent Care Assistance Plans. And all what they do is they work together to ease the burden on parents. And by offering these, you have employers able to attract and retain, good employees. It was, designed to help parents offset the cost of care, and they've fine-tuned it a little bit under the big, beautiful bill. And it's showing what it did. It has billions in federal investment in child care. And it's and then they're permanent investments in care. And since the ones that were put up during the pandemic were temporary, and so the Republicans have made them more permanent. So these are things that affect everyday life for a lot of Americans, and I think really change the quality of life for people. And I think that's the direction that we are heading in. Does all of this leave you hopeful for the future? Is this looking positive to you moving forward? Are you more optimistic than you were a year ago? Eric in Plymouth, welcome to WRKO. How are you, Eric?
Good morning. I'm glorious. How are you?
Good. I'm feeling pretty good. Thanks for
asking.
Excellent. Yeah.
So, what you're talking about is basic economics, right?
Yeah.
And then is Trump successful? Absolutely. But the problem with the left is that they refuse to accept reality, right? I think we all agree with that. So, from a street level view, I'm a small business owner. Yes, it's looking up. As prices adjust, my product becomes more expensive to the general public. I make a little bit more money, but my fixed costs, my mortgages, that sort of thing, that all stays the same.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, it's getting better for me. But the people I'm truly concerned about right now are the elderly.
Yeah.
They're on, well, not all of them, of course, but, the people who are on a fixed income. You mentioned Social Security won't be taxed. That is a small number right there to those people. What are we going to do for them? I think that's really where we need to focus going forward, because as our legal population ages, these people are getting priced out of their homes due to taxes, especially in a state like Massachusetts, where our governor's stealing our money to pay for illegals. We need a big change in this state. In general, I believe we are absolutely on the right track. I think it's great for my kids. Anybody that's looking out maybe right now 2-3 years to buy a house, if the Trump administration repeats what it did in number 45, the housing market will become accessible again in another 2 or 3 years. So if you're out there and you're saving and planning on buying a house, this is just my humble opinion, small business owner, wait a couple of years, let this shake out, and get a better deal.
I completely agree with that. I think that's really good advice, Eric. I do disagree with one thing you said when you said that no taxes on Social Security is a small number to them. It's not. If you're talking about somebody on a fixed income who's depending on their Social Security, not having to pay taxes on that is a big deal. And it's because you're talking about people where $50 is the difference between being able to buy food and not buy food. And so not having to have that taken out of your Social Security is not a little thing. It is if you have money. This is Sandy Shack sitting in for Jeff Cooner here on the Cooner Report. The text number is 70470. We're talking about your personal economy and the economy in general. Dems say it's bad. Trump says it's healing. What do you say? On the text line, 508 says, Sandy, people need to realize that the product bought today in the grocery store started in production several months ago to even years. Beef production takes about 2 years. It was not grown, produced, readied for market, harvested, and transported, and related costs all on today's prices. But if prices 3 to 24 months ago, I would say on 6 months or so, prices will drop significantly. Things like beef may not for longer. I think that's a really good point that people need to realize. And of course, the Democrats want you to, he said on day one he was going to make the prices drop. Well, he said he would work on making the prices drop. And some of them have, as a matter of fact. But, they want you to believe that it can happen overnight, and Trump's lying when it didn't happen overnight. Then there's 617 says, Sandy, you forgot that we senior SSA citizens are still living in the 20th century, and I hope that POTUS makes Congress do the right thing by us and give us a raise that will make us whole. Elizabeth Warren has been saying 200 more for us. I don't know what planet she's in, but that amount is a joke. We're fighting for 600 to 1,000 more to be able to live in the 21st century. Thanks for reading. You're welcome. And yeah, I was certainly did not forget that Social Security wages, which a lot of people live on now, are woefully low. But my point to the previous caller is who had said that it's so what? He was basically saying, so what if Social Security is no longer taxed? My response is every dollar matters a great deal when you're on Social Security, to your point, 617, so that it's a big deal. And could things be better? You bet. And I'm with you in hoping that President Trump helps raise those levels to a living, more than just subsistence level, which is, I believe, where they are now. But thank you for checking in. I appreciate it very much. So let's go to Rob in Washington. Rob, how is your personal economy doing?
Well, Sandy, I come to this as strictly a consumer because all I have for income is the Social Security. Mm-hmm. I probably make the maximum that you can make on Social Security. But I travel the lower 48 states constantly. It's been 2.5 years now that I've been touring around the U.S. only on that Social Security. Mm-hmm. And normally I'm able to still stick maybe a few hundred, maybe 500 aside every month because I live very frugally. And when something bad happens, like I need new tires or some repair to my vehicle, it wipes that savings out completely.
Yeah.
Now, but you got to know, the red states are brutal to live in and visit. I've been here in Washington for almost a month. Mm-hmm. they have an 8.6 sales tax. That doesn't, people don't think that a little percentage like that, Massachusetts 6% sales tax, it's a huge amount if you're on a fixed income. 8.6 is a lot of money for everything you buy, except groceries. Gasoline is $4.69 here. So because gas and diesel is more expensive, diesel is up in the fives. So anything that has to take a truck ride to its retail destination is more expensive. And I'll tell you, the expenses, let's just take groceries. I pay at least double.
Well, Rob, let me, when you say you're in Washington, are you talking Washington State or are you talking Washington, D.C.?
State.
Okay, so
State.
But the reason why I ask is because you said, the red states are brutal, and then you went on to talk about how Washington State was brutal with their sales tax, but Washington State's a blue state. It's not red.
No, it's effectively greatly red.
No, it isn't.
No,
it isn't. The suburban area of Seattle, which contains the majority of the state's population, is a Democratic area and is solidified. If you look at any political map, Washington is a blue state.
So, regardless, then the consumer economy is really tough. I pay twice or more.
Mm-hmm.
For any groceries than I would pay at, say, Market Basket back in Londonderry.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, gasoline is high, diesel is crazy high. The sales tax, and for me, I pay a national level. My car insurance, that's gone up 50% since I started this trip. So the fixed income items are higher.
Well, sales tax absolutely affects that, but I think that I think you might be confused about what's a blue state and what isn't. So I think that you may be blaming the wrong people for the sales taxes, because absolutely sales taxes can affect things greatly. And I think you'll find that the sales taxes are much higher in areas where the gimme programs are a lot greater, like New York, like Washington State, like California. And these are blue states. These are not red states. So I am in awe of you, by the way, for being on Social Security and doing this and traveling around the country, because most people find it harder just to subsist wherever they are on Social Security. Yet you have gone out of your comfort zone and traveled around the country to see things yourself firsthand. And I think that is amazing that you're doing that, Rob.
I apologize. I have my blue and red mixed up. I am so sorry.
Okay. Okay.
I look at red as communist. Sorry.
Okay. No, red is not.
This is a brutally left-wing communist state.
Okay.
With insane regs, total disregard for the Constitution. Crime is climbing like a ladder.
Yeah.
It's impossible to live here. And these people, their electric bills are killing them. Yeah. Everything is killing them, and they're living on the edge. And the line for food banks is growing and growing and growing. I am in a little town called Sequim, Washington, right on Puget Sound.
Oh, wow.
And I've been coming here for 3 years now, and a friend of mine owns a business right in front of the food bank, and he talks about the line of cars on Wednesday just growing and growing and growing, and like the beef section of the supermarket has gone tinier and tinier and tinier. People can't afford these states. Tennessee, New Hampshire, Texas, people can afford it, and I can save money when I'm in those states.
Yeah. No, I completely understand why that is, and those are states that have fewer gimme programs, basically, and so the taxes are much lower across the board, which helps everybody. But thank you so much for calling, Rob. Like I said, I am very impressed by what you do on Social Security, and I wish you much luck and drive safely till we see you back here in New England. But thank you so much for the call. 617-266-6868 is the number here. 617-266-6868. Do you think the economy is turning around? Does it seem like it's getting better to you? Or is it staying the same? Or do you believe the Democrats' patter that it is getting worse? I think I don't even know how they can keep a straight face when they say the economy is getting worse. And I think what Rob was just talking about in his travels through the country is an indicia of what we're talking about, meaning the Republican economic policies, those who follow economic conservatism and those who believe in supporting business and in full employment, and not these pie in the sky programs that enable people to grift off the system, are the key to economic success, like Texas, like Florida. And in some cases, you can go further north with that, but states like Massachusetts, where we spent millions and millions and millions of dollars for aiding illegals as opposed to veterans, which makes my heart sick when I even think about it. Those states are making it more difficult, I think, for their inhabitants to feel the economic turnaround that's happening. So where you are you starting to see a positive change in the economy? Steve in Hudson, welcome to WRKO. How are you, Steve?
Thanks for taking my call. Sandy, I used to listen to you on Saturdays. I really enjoyed a few years ago around 6 p.m. on Saturdays.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I'm kind of on the same fence as Rob is in Washington. Mm-hmm. And I'm also on Social Security and Medicare. And I just want to run some examples by you and get your opinion on these. Mm-hmm. I think we're in trouble, to be honest with you. I don't think there's a lot of things you just cannot fix anymore. They're not going to go back and be affordable again. And a few of those examples are, and then we can talk about car repairs. I was at the dealership the other day, $180 an hour they get for car repairs. Okay? Mm-hmm. So someone living on the edge, the guy told me that they see plenty of bills coming through, $2,000, $3,000 now. I have a dog, vet care.
Oh, yeah.
Through the roof.
Yeah.
Through the roof. I mean, if you're a family and you're on the edge, with the groceries and everything, I mean, that's a killer.
Yeah.
Home maintenance. I remember hot water tank used to cost $900, maybe $1,000. They're $2,000 now. They have installed, right?
Yeah.
And then the housing, right? I mean, a lot of times you can't blame these landlords. Their property taxes, their insurances are going way up, and my home insurance went from $1,200 a year to $2,000 a year. The electric bills skyrocketing, right? And then we got the medical insurance. I just talked about the property insurance, and Rob touched on the car insurance. The medical insurance.
Yeah.
When I had my kids, I had 2 kids. I had Blue Cross Blue Shield, and we're going way back, right? I walked out of the hospital. I didn't know anything. The insurance paid for everything. My son-in-law just had a baby a little less than a year ago. He walked out of that hospital owing $5,000.
Wow.
And he had insurance.
Yeah.
Now these things you're never going to fix. The car repair stuff, the vet stuff, they're not going backwards. The home maintenance. You try getting an electrician or plumber to see what they're charging. Mm-hmm. And then when I left work, I did have to pay for my insurance for it until I got on Medicare. I was paying $700 a month with deductibles and co-pays. It was awful. The insurance was awful, and it was so expensive. That tax break. When you say no tax, there is a limit on it, and it goes up to $75K on the Social Security break they give me, which is great.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to fall into that.
Yeah.
And even people who make more than that, I think they prorate it. It starts tapering down. But,
yeah, I think you're right.
But Sandy, those things I just mentioned, they're not going to be less expensive.
No, but what they're going to do, I think, and absolutely, there are things that will not change, that will continue to go up. But I think what a positive economy does is put you in a better position to handle some of those things. And it's going to happen incrementally. Also, there are programs that will become available, like, and I'm not saying, I know that, for instance, one congressman is working on subsidized insurance for veterinary care, or, things like that. There are things in the works to help with specific issues as they are identified. So I don't think all is lost on all of the things that you mentioned, but absolutely life has gotten more expensive. And so what I think the Trump economy is trying to do is bring everybody up to a above subsistence level, trying to make things a little bit easier. They're not going to write you a blank check, and it's not going to turn around overnight. But I think all of these things can be affected. Even a little bit helps, bit by bit by bit. And I think, like one of the earlier callers said, he was talking about real estate investment. But I think 2 to 3 years out, things will be a lot easier than they are right now. Right now, President Trump has been in office for 200 days, and things are already starting to look better. Can you imagine when, it's 3 years from now and he's had a full effect on the economy and these policies have been able to be fully implemented? So I completely get these costs, because a lot of them have affected me, and it's been, shock when I've had to deal with a lot of them. I don't think that all is lost. I mean, if the Social Security base comes up, if in fact, some of these subsidized programs for tax paying or for seniors come along, I mean, these things are going to make life easier. They're not going to make necessarily life easy, but they will make life easier. I think that's what we're looking at right now, for hoping in the next year or so. But I think you're pointing these out is very important. Steve, I think that people are faced with these, and what Trump is, I think, trying to do is make it easier for you to deal with those situations that are growing than it is now. I think that's what we're hoping for. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, but yes, and he's bringing. It's going to take 4 or 5 years for these factories to be built with the chips and all these businesses he's bringing back.
Yeah.
He's doing the right thing, but it's going to take time. You won't even see this. Probably 6 years, people start with great, where they can make a living wage in today's world.
I think it won't be as long as 6 years. I think it'll be a shorter turnaround than that. But I do think it's going to be years. I think it's going to be like 2 to 3 years. And I think you'll see a lot of these factories can be built a lot faster now than they used to be and get up and running. And I think that, and we're not just talking about manufacturing, we're talking about other things as well. So I think that there's, the turnaround's going to be a little bit less egregious than what you're talking about. So thank you for the call, Steve. I appreciate it. I got to hold you there because I am really, really, really late in doing something, and I yell at Jeff almost every week when he's late. And so I'm hoping to God he's not listening, because then he's going to make my life hell when he comes back, because it's time for Cooner's Call Log, where we play the most memorable call from the week. It's chosen by Mike, and it's supposed to be at 8 o'clock. And it's 7 minutes after. Please don't anybody tell Jeff how late this was, because I'm telling you, he's going to make my life a misery if he finds out. So, Mike, if you'll take it away.
It's time for Cooner's Call Log, where we showcase our favorite caller from the week.
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Thanks for holding, Bob.
I'm in Boston all the time. Lou, she should be in jail for this
stuff she does. Homeless veterans everywhere. I'm always over in Boston. You get high off all the weed. They're all smoking, pot everywhere. And the cops go, well, we're supposed to stand down. They can't do anything. You go ask any in the city, no one gives anyone any tickets for smoking weed. And that sends a bad message. Now I'm on the train coming home last night. This little kid, about 13 years old, with this little bike that's on the train, he's got a vape in his hand. He's smoking. I go, you're smoking? You know what he says? What the F it is to you? And then he pulls a knife out. I go, what are you going to stab me? And then he leaves the bike in the middle of the train, goes across, and he's staring at me. I says, listen, I'm from the project, kid. I would never disrespect someone like that. I go, I will say one thing. God loves you. And that's it. That's all I said. But we're turning into a third world country. This country's going to hell.
And next week, it could be you on Cooner's Call Log.
Please, don't be a stranger. Call again.
Mike makes me laugh all the time. So that was nicely done, Michael. That was, you made me smile yet again. So that was a good call. It's hard to pick. It's not necessarily the best call or the worst call. It's the funniest call. It's the most memorable call. And that one, I have to say, is stuck in my mind pretty much too. So I thought Mike did a very good job this week. The number here is 617-266-6868. The text number is 70470. On the text line, 254 says, Sandy, tell Rob, that was our caller, Rob from Washington State, who's driven around the country. We're in Sequim, Washington. There is massive waste, fraud, and abuse in Washington State. I've read about it. I've never been to Washington State, but I have certainly read about it. And to hear Rob talk about it, he sees it right up front and personal. So, gosh. 957 says, Sandy, don't forget that the dollar is weak, and as it gets stronger, things that won't get lower in price will be more affordable. That's absolutely true. I had forgotten to mention that. That's a really good point. I appreciate that. And 617 says, Stop and Shop is in the news, slashing prices on thousands of items. Well, you know what you made me do? I have to go grocery shopping today, and I had not decided where to go because it depends on what I'm looking for. I pick different grocery stores for different things, depending on what it is we need at home. Like some places are better at, like paper towels, and some are better for produce. Some are better for, so it depends on what you need. But now, hearing that Stop and Shop is slashing prices, I feel like I should support them because I think that's pretty nice. I mean, I think don't get me wrong. I love Market Basket. But there's no Market Basket right next to my house, so it's a little bit of a hike to get to Market Basket. But I usually get there like once every couple weeks at least. But if Stop and Shop is slashing prices, then I think my neighborhood Stop and Shop might get my support this week, and I think I'll go shopping there. What about you? We have a lot of people on the text line that are responding to our Washington State caller, Rob, who was talking about how bad it is there from sales tax. This is 253. Cooner and Sandy, I travel a lot for work. Gas in Washington State, $5 gallon or higher, while Florida has it at $3. Washington has excessive sales tax exceeding 11% and some of the highest property tax. They recently allowed up to 3% of home value. If years ago you bought your house for $100K and today it's worth $500K, then under this new direction you owe $15,000 in property tax. Your Social Security benefit will no longer cover your expenses. On top of all this, fraud is rampant. Orlando just did a review of why their state-funded Visit Orlando Tourism Office budget grew $20 million in 1 year. But in Washington, if you question the budget, the Marxist governor wants to lock you up. Well, that's the progressive response to most things. Agree with us or go to jail. Basically, that's what they tried to do with President Trump. And by the way, speaking of that, I know that there are some people on the line who also want to talk about this. The FBI has gone and searched the home of former security advisor John Bolton. That's just happened this morning. It's kind of interesting. You had he lives in Bethesda. He lives in the Woodstock area of Bethesda, right in the middle of Bethesda. FBI raided his home, looking for security documents. And it's funny because Kash Patel put out a tweet going, "No one is above the law." #FBI agents on a mission. Just after they got there. So this probe, which is supposed to be about classified documents, was launched years ago, but the Biden administration shut it down for political reasons, they said. Bolton has been accused of including classified information in his 2020 book, The Room Where It Happened, and President Trump fought to stop its publication because it included national secrets, saying that Bolton broke his NDA as a condition of his employment, but he wasn't able to do it. So this is what's going on. So I don't know exactly what's going to come of it, what they're specifically looking for, but it looks like Kash Patel and the FBI are up and running. Tim from South Carolina, welcome to WRKO. How are you, Tim?
Good morning to the lovely Sandy Shack.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
morning. Yes, absolutely. Good morning, Jeff Cooner. Hope you're enjoying your day off. Good morning to the listeners. This is huge. We have a House rated at 6 a.m. Roger Stone has already spoken. I think everyone out there should know that this may seem like a lower arrest. Bolton was kind of a major player, though. He held.
He wasn't arrested. His house is raided. There's a difference. So he wasn't arrested. His house is raided. They're looking for stuff. It depends whether he's arrested or not. Will depend on what they find.
Right. But I think he'll sing, though. I think if he's pressed by them, he's definitely going to. I think he'll be nervous. He knows he's in big trouble right now, and I think that's what they're doing. Maybe the lower level people.
Yeah.
I mean, you're obviously trained in this, Sandy. I mean, witness testimony is evidence, right?
Sure.
Is that correct? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to call in and say that I think this is extremely good news.
It isn't bad news. Let's put it that way. I don't know what will come of it, but to actually see things moving and see things, it not being shuffled off somewhere is I think a positive step. But what happens, whether it turns into good news or whether it's just a positive sign, I don't know yet.
Right, I hear you. But anyway, I just wanted to call in and let you know. And
well, before you go, would you mind answering my question regarding the economy? How is your personal economy doing? Do you see movement in forward, or do you believe the Democrats are correct when they say the sky is falling?
I think the economy is improving. It's little by little. It's an inch at a time. One thing that, I always bank on is whatever the mainstream media is telling people, the exact opposite is taking place. I mean, it's been a running theme. I've noticed a difference myself in my pocketbook. So, yeah, the answer is yes.
So things are looking up under the Trump administration. You think his State of the Union speech, when he eventually gets it, is going to be thumbs up, guys?
Well, I know that I get accused a lot, and you inferred it just now, and you're right about that. I get accused a lot of being overexcited, or I think everything that's happening right now is positive. He told us we're entering a golden age. They might be just words. It might be just a phrase. If you think of everything simultaneously taking place right now, all of the changes, all the corrections he's making, there's going to be a culmination here. And yeah, I'm really excited. Anyone again can accuse me of, being overly, dramatic or excited. But well, I don't think you can be overly optimistic. I think optimism is a, no pun intended, is a positive thing. But I think that I think everything is moving toward the light as opposed to moving toward the dark, which is how I felt things were moving under the Biden administration. And now I see it may be incremental steps forward, but I think we're moving toward a brighter future for everybody across the board, as opposed to in the Biden administration, the brighter future was for a very limited few, and the rest of us were being left in the dust. And that's how I feel about the economy, is that this economy seems to be
moving forward for everybody may be slow, but that's because it's taking everybody along with it. Whereas under the Biden administration, there were just a select few who were prospering. That's how I see it. What about you, Tim?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I echo your words. I think the hijack of the country has been thwarted, and everything has turned around. Everything. Yeah. I mean, it's been stopped cold. Yeah. The globalists are not winning.
They're not. And I think that you can take this this FBI raid on John Bolton's home as part of that, as lessons learned, in that you can't abuse the law, and you can't put your own pocketbook ahead of national security and ahead of the presidency and ahead of democracy, and do well. President Trump appears to be righting the economy of the U.S. It's slow and it's small steps, but I think that we are headed in the right direction. Are you seeing a positive change in your life? Maria from Ludlow, welcome to WRKO. How are you, Maria?
Miss Sandy.
So what do you say? Are you seeing positive changes?
I definitely do see positive changes, but it's quite hard in the state of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
It's very hard to raise a family over here. I don't see that the state is going to get any better under the leadership that it's on. I wish and I pray to God the state will eventually, by some miracle, change to red. That I think it's wishful thinking.
Do you know what, Maria, you know what is the biggest growing party in Massachusetts, or I would say political group instead of party, would be independents are growing hand over fist in Massachusetts.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
As long as they're not voting blue, I'm good with it.
I have no idea how they're voting, but I know that independents, or in Massachusetts we call them unenrolled, are growing exponentially.
That's great. That's great. I mean, I live in Ludlow, and the shopping markets here are atrocious. I mean, our local grocery store is Big Y, and the prices there are atrocious. They're so expensive. I mean, I go with coupons to the store, but it's like on the stuff that I don't purchase. I mean, I go cheap as can be. And I'm going to have to start going, I go to Springfield to Stop and Shop.
Yeah.
Or Aldi's. But I wish that Market Basket went out here. And I've made numerous phone calls to Market Basket. Yes, I am that person that has called them numerous times.
Yeah.
To, see if they can build a store out here. Because I've told them that it's like it's a disservice not having a store here to service the community, because we don't have a choice. It's either Big Y or Stop and Shop and Aldi's if you're close by.
Yeah.
And it's quite, shameful, because it's so... Last night, I went to the grocery store before I went to work, legit, to buy milk, butter, and a thing of eggs and some blueberries, and I spent almost $60.
Oh my God!
I almost I didn't even bring a bag with me. I carried everything in my hand because that's all I needed it, and I've been making everything at home.
Yeah.
I make my own bread. I'm learning how to make my own butter. I'm making everything at home because it's just to go purchase anything is so expensive, and making it at home, obviously it's much healthier.
Yeah.
But everything is so expensive out here.
And the other thing I can say is I don't remember the last time I bought a brand name anything. I buy generic whenever. I mean, if I have the option, it's always generic, because it's especially with a store like Market Basket, it is massively different. And usually the generics are made at the same factories as the brand names are. They just change the labeling on them and sell them, at a cheaper price. So I honestly don't remember the last time I looked for a brand name of anything. I'm always looking for the store brand when I buy anything to save money. I have noticed some things are getting better. Not everything. by any stretch, but there are some things that are getting better. And like you too, I've learned how to make stuff. Like I make my own yogurt, and it's because I found that if you have a slow cook or an Instapot, you can make your own. It actually has a button on it that you can make your own yogurt, and it's so much cheaper than buying it. So I know exactly what you're talking about. There's certain things I've learned to make, and there are certain things that you can't make. You have to buy, and when I do that, I buy generic. But I will say that it's getting easier for me at the store than it used to be, and on some things, on some dairy products and the egg stuff, and I look for, like you, I look for the sales. I read the ads every week before I go in and make a list and try to stick to the list. But it's getting easier for me to make the impulsive buy. That's good or bad, depending on what's going on. But I completely understand where you're coming from, Maria. But have you noticed anything getting better for you?
Oh, definitely. The gas has definitely gone down. As you know, I work in Cambridge. So I thank God that every once in a while, at least twice a month on my way home, I stop in Oxford. It is the last market basket before I come home. So I will stop in Oxford, Mass, and go grocery shopping because I know it's going to be much cheaper. And the gas is cheaper. Things have gone. I would not change the way things are now to the way things used to be under the Biden's administration. It's like day and night.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Will it get better even more? Yes, it will. But everything takes time, and people need to be patient because, that buffoon destroyed this country quickly. It doesn't take long to destroy something. It takes longer to rebuild it.
Yeah, in fact, to your point, just think of this analogy. How long does it take to build a building, and how long does it take to implode it? It takes, it can literally take at less than an hour to implode a building. When you see the construction companies come in to take down a building, literally it's pressed a button and it's gone. How long did it take to build that? And that's what I think that's a really good point that you're making, because it didn't take Joe Biden and before him Obama very much time to disrupt the economy, and it's going to take a while to build it back up. So thank you so much for the call, Maria. I appreciate it. I think it's interesting that she brings that point up because I think President Trump has made really concerted efforts to build up the international trade again. He's made a big effort to protect American workers in what he's doing. There's been a blue collar wage boom. So far, I think it's 1.4% up in 2025. That's the fastest start of any new administration dating back, I think, like 60 years. The only time that it's been faster, just a little bit, was under President Trump's first term, when it grew 1.5%. And that, of course, was before COVID hit. But part of this, the start of this economic renaissance, I think, is also due to, as I mentioned before, to the big, beautiful bill, which brings back 100% expensing for capital expenditures. Plus, it also brought about this new approach of full expensing for factories and plants, which is a big boom for the blue collar workers, carpenters, electricians, plumbers, laborers, the people who are really going to benefit from this bill. You have all sorts of people in all sorts of different jobs that are going to benefit from this, but it's going to be slow. It's going to take a little time. But nursing assistants, people that work in retail, wholesale trade, the people that are the backbone of the economy, they're going to benefit from the increased capital that companies have now been incentivized to bring in, to make commitments, and along with the building of the factories. And in regard to that, you've got workers who are going to be building factories are going to get paid. Workers are going to get paid more when they're working in those factories. So it's kind of like a round robin. It's each step that they've taken, a lot of which were in the big beautiful bill, generates the next step and the next step and the next step, and it kind of starts to grow exponentially, but it's a slow beginning. Since the big beautiful bill was signed, the tax cuts in his first term are also in this bill, and they increased blue collar wages, and we could see a huge jump in people's wages to help people like Maria or some of the other callers that we've had this morning, and something beside that is also the strengthening of the position of American manufacturing during the Trump administration. I mean, he has tackled trade big time, and not just diplomatically, but Donald Trump has really approached rebuilding American manufacturing so that we can compete with China. And so that's what he's been doing at the same time that he's pursuing trade diplomacy that helps American businesses and American consumers, like, Ford's $5 billion investment in car manufacturing, which includes a new plant that's going to create 1,700 new U.S. jobs. That's in the big, beautiful bill. And that's going to have American workers creating American-made batteries using global licensed technology. Does President Trump know what he's doing with the economy? Dems say he doesn't. Don't believe your lying eyes if you think things are getting better. That's what they say. Whose side are you on here? Ronnie in Boston, welcome to WRKO. How are you, Ronnie?
Hey, good morning, Cindy. Thank you, as always, for taking the call. Things are definitely on the healing trend, not just economically, but socially, too. There's just an overall sense of a return to normalcy in America under Trump. And although there's a ton of different, economic indicators I could point to or policy changes Trump has made to prove the healing, I don't think anything has helped our economy more than Trump's zero tolerance position on illegal immigration. When you dump 20 to 30 million illegals in just 4 years into our supermarket chain, of course the price of food is going to skyrocket because you and I are paying for it with our money, and these illegals are paying for it with our money. So, of course, especially when grocery stores are closing because of rampant theft in deep blue states, just mobs of people stealing everything. And, our grocery store chains haven't expanded with all this new illegal population. It shrank because to the people that are in there, the attitude is, well, whether I get it for free swiping an EBT card or I just walk in and take it, free is free. What's it to me? So a lot of these stores have closed. And then when you look at housing, I mean, Sandy, if I were to snap my fingers right now and every single illegal in this country was gone, rents would plummet. There'd be nothing but plentiful housing opened up nationwide for nice, cheap rents. Landlords would be able to go in and renovate these places, and they'd be fighting for competitive rents so young people could get on their feet and rent a one-bedroom for $700-800 a month. And food prices would plummet with 30 million people not on our grocery, food chain supply line anymore, making it super expensive for the rest of us, creating scarcity, which is something that we've only seen in the last 4 years ever in American grocery stores, empty shelves, chronic difficulty supplying items. And it all comes down to illegal immigration. Union guys, blue-collar workers, they cannot negotiate for higher wages with an endless sea of illegal labor pouring into the country. So you've seen wages go up because now all this new investment's coming into America, and these workers aren't competing with illegal immigrants anymore. You're starting to see housing. Housing is still really high, but with, going from tens of thousands of illegals pouring across the border every month to zero, nothing Trump has done has helped our economy and helped the average working person more than his zero tolerance position on illegal immigration. And like I said, if I were to snap my fingers and they were all gone tomorrow, food prices would plummet, rents would plummet, mortgages and housing prices would plummet. And, and that's the direction that we're heading in. And that's nothing but a good thing if you're a working class person.
You bring up such a good point, Ronnie, because when you think about it, illegal immigration really affects every single part of our economy and is usually, I think, when you look at it, the root of most of our big issues. I mean, you touched on it in regard to, food prices and housing and schools. Don't forget, schools, the overcrowding in the schools and the problem we're having with education probably has something to do with it. And can we talk about healthcare? I was in, Ronnie, I was in an emergency room. This is a few years ago. This is in New York. And in the ambulance, they took my insurance card, and then I was triaged in the emergency room at the hospital, St. Luke's Hospital in New York, and they took my insurance card during triage, and then I am in an emergency room bay, and the hospital administrator person, very nice woman, but she's in there again taking my insurance. So I am in bad shape. They're getting ready to have emergency surgery, and I have now been hassled 3 times for my insurance, in an emergency situation. Meanwhile, in the next bay over, I hear a woman, and they had pumped me full of painkillers and all the rest, but still, in the next bay over, I hear in Spanish, I do speak Spanish, and I hear in Spanish, I don't have insurance, don't charge me. And I'm just thinking, I have been hassled now 3 times. I'm barely conscious for my insurance information. And the woman who next to me, who doesn't have insurance, I don't know if she was illegal or not, but if I had to bet, given what the doctors or nurses were saying, I suspect that she was, because they were concerned about exposing her to the police that were in the emergency room. I think she was, but don't know for sure. But I'm thinking, oh my God, I am paying for her hospital stay, and we're not even gotten to the point of my hospital stay that wasn't covered by insurance. So, I mean, it affects everything, Ronnie, absolutely everything. I think that is such a good point. And by solving that problem, because President Trump has effectively closed the border at this point, by solving that problem, I think he put us well on the way to a more sound economic footing. I so agree with you.
Is that, it's no other issue also got so many moderates and Democrats to quietly break for Trump, too, than illegal immigration. Because, an illegal immigrant doesn't care if the job they're taking belongs to a Democrat or Republican. They don't care, whether, you're Democrat or Republican. We're all still paying the same prices at the grocery stores. We're all still seeing the same rents, out there. It's just, illegal immigration doesn't care about your party affiliation. And I know personally in my own life, a lot of single moms that, that were really, really struggling under Biden because the apartment complexes that they lived at got overrun with illegals, making them a lot more unsafe. And also their benefits were a lot more restricted. And one was telling me, she'd go down for her SNAP benefits. You got to go in once a month, so they can see you. And it was just a sea of illegals in front. And it just turned into an all-day affair. And, and these are Democrats, Sandy, being honest about how, it's frustrating to wait there all day. It's frustrating to not understand the language of all the people around you in your own country. It's frustrating, to see these people, being rewarded for criminal behavior of just coming across the border in human waves and receiving benefit after benefit after benefit that, amounts to a working person making $50,000 a year. And of course that's completely ruined our economy. But, Trump is turning that around. And it's only going to get better as time goes on. His zero tolerance policy on illegal immigration. It's only going to make all of our economic fortunes better in the future, in my opinion.
I think
and
you
thank
are
you as
so
always
right.
for the call, Sandy.
Oh, thank you for calling, Ronnie. I really appreciate it. I think you're so absolutely right. And let's not forget, by the way, in Massachusetts, the fact that veterans were being turned out of low-income housing because landlords were being offered incentives to give them to illegal families. And it's, wow. That's always just made me sick at heart when I heard about that happening. Thank you for the call, Ronnie. I appreciate it very much. Let's go to Tommy in West Virginia. Tommy, how are you today?
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Sandy.
So are things turned?
You had a caller.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
You had a caller about an hour ago that talked about Washington State.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1992, February of 92, I started working at a Boeing facility construction expansion in Seattle as well as Everett, Washington. It was a beautiful state. It was affordable. I had a studio apartment in the Capitol Hill section of Seattle for $225 a month.
Wow.
And I wasn't working overtime then, but I was still able to pay for my apartment back in Boston, a cabin in West Virginia, and I still had money left over at the end of the month. I was still saving, even though I was taking care of 3 places. Very affordable, really nice. And here is the thing that happened back then. When I got transferred to another job in Everett, Washington, where they built the 777 plane, there was 700 electricians on that job from all over the country. It was an IBEW electricians. And working with the local guys, you could be from anywhere in the country. But if you were from Southern California, the local guys just took an attitude to these people. Like, and I asked one of the local guys, I go, what's this bigotry towards Southern Californians? He said, well, here's the problem. They're selling their property in the county. They're jacking up our land prices. They view us as hayseeds that we're pumpkins. And he said, mark my word, 20 years from now, King County, Seattle is going to be L.A. County minus the sunshine. And I just remembered, like, that's ridiculous, just thinking to myself. Well, guess what happened? King County, Seattle is Los Angeles County. And what's the common denominator? Progressive Democrats and their policies. And I checked out that man that talked about Washington State, the fuel prices on gas, buddy. He was right on. Diesel is between around the low $4 to $5 gallon price.
Wow.
And that has a huge dealing, with regards to shipping. And Washington State, in the city of Bellingham, they have oil refineries there. And the big thing that the Trump administration, he did say on the campaign trail that he wants to open up more refineries in this country. That's our problem. And if we open up more refineries, number one, when we have a hurricane, the fuel prices aren't going to jump on the East Coast like they always do. Mm-hmm. And the last oil refinery that was built in this country, major one, was in 1976 somewhere in Texas. And I just hope Trump's people are listening, but that's one thing. If we really want to get food costs down, that's part of the equation, that you've got to make shipping easier for them. Mm-hmm. And your previous caller, Ronnie, was spot on that, you know what, you start getting rid of the illegal immigrants that are competing for jobs in America. And I'm so tired of hearing, well, who's going to pick our fruits and vegetables? We need 330,000 people to do those manual jobs. Yes, they should be treated humanely. Yes, they should be paid well. I have no issue with people like that. They don't have to be illegals to do that. But if Trump can really go through a massive deportation of illegals, not legal immigrants, illegals, you will see the price of apartments go down. You will see the price of housing go down. And I find it interesting that my house in Brockton, where I paid $239 for back in 11, mm-hmm. in 2019 it was worth around $330, and I'm thinking, well, it's pretty good. It's about almost $100,000 in a little over 10 years. Less than 10 years.
Yeah.
That same property now, if I Zillow that, it's $600,000.
Wow.
And we can thank Biden's policy for jacking up these prices. And I'm not going to sell the place. I'm going to hang on to it. And there's probably some NPR listener that's listening that would say, well, geez, aren't you lucky your house is worth so much? Well, yeah, I am if I want to be greedy. But on the other hand, too, what about the generation of young people that are up and coming that want to raise a family and live in Massachusetts, the same way many of the people that I grew up with? I'm 65 now.
Mm-hmm.
And buying a house in Massachusetts, it's next to impossible for a married couple in their mid-20s. Whereas if we go back maybe a generation ago, it was possible for them to do that. But I don't know. I'm just so fed up with highly educated white liberals that have all the answers. And I look at the states that are run by highly educated white liberals. You're taxed to the maximum, and you're always laid this guilt trip that if you don't pay higher taxes, somehow you're an evil person.
Yeah.
Massachusetts, on their income tax form, you can choose to pay a higher amount of state income tax, and very few people do that.
Yeah,
and these
I've
are the
yet to
same
meet one.
people that.
I've never met one, Tommy.
And when I go to my hometown and my church in Foxborough, Massachusetts, it's got the rainbow flag in there with highly educated white liberal progressives that they're the ones that when they found out that I voted for Trump, they're shocked. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Our governor in 2023, Maura Healey, asked all of us that if we had a spare bedroom in our apartment or home to put up a migrant. Did any of you do that? Have you read the book of Mark? Have you read the book of Matthew about welcoming strangers? It's in there. It's in the New Testament. And that's when some of these people will turn their backs to me.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I might be in the basement of the church, but I know what they're saying under their breath, and it's bass pole.
Yeah.
So,
yes, no, I know exactly what you're talking about, Tommy. And here's my thing though about when you say that the white liberals, say they know everything. I don't have a problem with somebody saying that they know everything. To be honest with you, I have a habit. I have a problem when they lie about something, when they say not that they know something, but that they lie about it. That's my big issue, is the duplicitousness of the lacking in candor that you get from these people, pretending that when things are getting better, they're not. That is my big issue. I can get the disagreement over how something should be fixed, but don't lie to me to justify your solution when, if you told the truth, your solution would not be a solution at all. That's one of the things that really irks me. And I'm going to give you an example of that. Remember Chuck Schumer, upon hearing that the economy grew a whopping 3%, GDP was up 3% in the month of July. And do you remember what Chuck Schumer's response was to that? I'm going to play it for you because I couldn't believe it. It's cut 22A, Mike.
While the Trump administration will try to wave rosy headlines about the Q2 number, today's GDP number is in fact a mirage because some ominous numbers lurk under the hood. Business investment plunged in the second quarter by 3.1%. The fact that business investment plunged so starkly is very troubling. It shows that already businesses are worried about growing their operations, worried about hiring more workers, worried about trading with their international partners, and worried in general about the future. And this number is another data point in a larger pattern. Donald Trump's tariffs are weighing down the U.S. economy, spiking costs for small businesses and families alike. And if Donald Trump keeps up the chaos, the dangers for the economy will continue to get worse.
Chaos. A GDP at 3% is a bad thing. Don't let it fool you. Is he being Chicken Little? The sky is falling? It seems to me that he doesn't care no matter what the GDP number was, he was going to give the same speech, just input the GDP number. And I think it's more than just looking for failure. I think when they lie like this, the Democrats are actually trying to create failure. They're doing more than just predicting it. They want to try to make it happen. What do you think, Tommy?
You took the words out of my mouth as I was listening to that. that I thought the sky is falling. And yes, the fable of Chicken Little really comes to mind. But let's put it this way, in conclusion of this conversation, and thank you for the conversation. Number one, John Bolton is a rat. We're going to find that out. Number two, in the words of Malcolm X, the chickens are coming home to roost. And I was so glad to hear that they investigated him. And Letitia James, it ain't over till it's over.
Nope, it isn't over
Thank
till
you
it's
and have a
over.
good weekend.
Well, you too, Tommy. Thank you so much for the call. I appreciate that. It isn't over till it's over. But it seems to me that all these lies that they've told, all this sleight of hand that they've done, in particular in the economy, never mind, Russia, and national security events, that too, and their jihad against President Trump. It seems to me that they seem to think if they say the same lie over and over and over again, that it will become the truth. And so if they say that Donald Trump is failing on an economic level, that they're trying to make it happen as opposed to, hoping that the country does better. They don't want the country to do better. They want us to do worse. And they think that by sheer willpower, they can make that true. Are they trying to make the economy fail? Ellen in Lowell, welcome to WRKO. How are you, Ellen?
How are you, honey?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for calling.
I just wanted to say one thing. Living in Massachusetts, I don't understand why anybody would vote for Mara Healey or Mayor Wu there. If they were both out, Massachusetts would be a heck of a lot better than what it is today. And why would people vote them back in? I can't understand it. Mara Healey said, there's a good plan we have. Your electric is going to be cut down. And she was talking about solar. People don't want solar. My electric bill, they call it delivery charge, is almost like $160 added onto my electric bill every month. And my electric bill is like $300 a month, and that's a lot of money.
It is.
And I don't know why people can't understand that the Democrat Party is not the same party that we had years ago. It's flipped over. As far as I'm concerned, they're no good. I don't know why people can't understand that in Massachusetts. Get rid of Mara Healey, and we will live a lot better. All she is for the illegals, putting them all up everywhere you can think of. And I hope that Tom Homan comes down here and does a good job in Massachusetts and gets them all out. This is the way I feel.
It's interesting. Well, I think a lot of people feel that way, Ellen. For sure, the Democratic Party is not the Democratic Party of my parents. It's not the same, not even close to what it was when I was growing up. And I think when I first registered to vote, back when, I was 18 years old, I registered as a Democrat because my parents were Democrats. But then at some point in time, I realized that I wasn't. And it wasn't that I changed. It was that the Democrat Party changed, and it no longer represented my ideals and my beliefs. And that's when I became unenrolled, and so essentially became an independent. And I think a lot of people are reaching the same realization that you have reached, Ellen, both those who live in Massachusetts and those who live outside of Massachusetts. It's not just a unique problem to Massachusetts. For instance, can I mention California? Never mind Washington State, which we've mentioned earlier today. This is Nancy Shack sitting in for Jeff Cooner, also known as Sandy. And a text number is 70470-207 says, farm equipment runs on diesel, which has gone up 40%, added cost to food. So what Tommy from West Virginia was talking about in regard to fuel costs and so forth, too, and some other callers as well. That adds, so Donald Trump going after illegal immigration, which affects everything, and fuel costs, which affects everything, are both going to have, I think, positive effects on the economy moving forward. We were talking about, and with the last caller, with Ellen and Lowell, we were talking about how bad Massachusetts Governor Healy is for the economy. And we've talked this morning also about Washington State because we've had some callers and texters from there. We can't leave California out of this mix, I have to say, because California is used to be the Golden State, and it's now a disaster. And not only are they in the process of tanking their own economy, but they're also getting their fingers into other people's economies as well. But also, the DOJ is suing California, in particular Governor Newsom and the AG out there, Rob Bonta, for prohibiting farmers across the country from using commonly accepted agricultural methods that helps keep eggs affordable. So they are one of the reasons why your egg prices were up. It was from the Department of Labor is trying to remove 60 obsolete workplace regulations that are affecting things. And so that's a really big deal. So the regulations in a blue state can affect the prices in a red state if they make it difficult to deal with them, to trade with them, to be part of their economy. And I think that's what's happened, as well as the federal policies that were bad under Biden. So that's part of what's happened. Meanwhile, you have these social policies that are non-business friendly in California, that have essentially driven businesses out and caused the unemployment to skyrocket. California has the highest employment rate in the nation. It's, I think, 5.5% in July, and that's the highest of any state in the union. 5.5%. I mean, it just boggles my mind. And besides that, the regulations that they put in effect, the tax issues that they have put in effect that affect businesses, are literally chasing businesses out, literally chasing them away. And I can give you some examples of that. Bed Bath & Beyond. Bed Bath & Beyond is leaving California. Their chairman, Marcus, I think his name is Lemonis, I don't know how to pronounce it, announced that the company is closing all retail stores in California. He says it's about the reality of California's system, which makes it nearly impossible for businesses to succeed, and he doesn't want to put his company through it. They'll continue to ship to customers, but they're cutting out the overregulated, expensive environments for doing business in the state. So they're leaving. Would you believe that Playboy, the iconic Playboy mansion, they're leaving L.A. for Miami Beach. It's moving its corporate headquarters to Miami. They describe California as hostile to business. Ben Cohn, he's the chief executive, described California as being anti-business, saying the state is an extremely expensive place to operate. Do you remember when, also, don't forget Elon Musk moved Tesla to Texas, and there's a slew of them who have left. Kaiser Aluminum, Nexon Tire, Align Technology. These are massive corporations, have all fled California. And then, and why? Because California is a bastion of progressive economic ideas. And I don't mean progressive as in good. I mean progressive as in the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. And these policies are destroying the economy of California. Smaller businesses, not these huge global conglomerations that are leaving, but smaller businesses are also not faring any better since the mandatory minimum wage went into effect of $20, which is forcing, small businesses to close. They cannot compete. You've got these mom or pop businesses, either they're letting people go because they can't afford to pay the minimum wage, so people are losing their jobs, or they're just closing the doors. And then everybody's out of work because they just can't do it. This is what the progressive economic policies are bringing you. And just keep that in mind, by the way, as Gavin Newsom starts to put his presidential campaign for 2028 together. And look what he's seeing, what he's done in California. So, liberal elected officials running the state have run it into the ground because they have no idea what they are doing. They have no idea how to effectuate a positive working economy so that everybody does better. That's what a good economy does. To use that trite expression, a rising tide raises all boats. But what the blue states do isn't a rising tide. What a blue state does is pick the people who get to become successful under their administration. Not everybody, just a selected few who they agree with. And when you narrow down your economic policy like that, so that to increase your voter base without thinking about how all people can benefit, then you have a train wreck like you have in California. And it's not just California or Washington or Massachusetts. There are other states that have fallen into this trap as well. I think in deciding whether President Trump is on the right track or not, you have to look at your own personal economy. Maybe if you live in Massachusetts, your personal economy might be better in another state, or maybe if you live in California, it might be better in another state. But even in blue states, I think President Trump is trying to raise the standard of living for everybody, even if you live there where they're doing their best to crush you. So I want you to look at your own personal environment and tell me, do you have hope on an economic level moving forward? Do you think things are getting better? Dan in New Hampshire, welcome to WRKO. How are you, Dan?
Thank you, Sandy. Totally agree with some of your callers. I mean, when you're talking about, you guys mentioned a little bit about the illegals, and people got to realize, okay, I'm in real estate, Sandy, so I see it front and center sometimes, and I refuse to take these people. The thing is here is, these illegal criminals all have to be deported, okay? They're not here to assimilate. They're here to fundamentally destroy our traditions, culture, and history, okay? That's what it is. I've dealt with people come here with resident visas, okay? And when they eventually get their legal, status, okay, they are so happy. They talk about being American. They're not.
I'm sorry, Dan. We have to hold you there. Hang on, if you will, and we'll come back to you on the other side of the break because our breaks are hard. With us, as she always is at this time each week, is Kelly of Kelly Financial Services with our weekly report and what to look forward to this weekend. Kelly, it's so good to talk to you.
Same here, Sandy. It's so good to hear your voice.
Thank you. That's
so good to hear your voice. So many times when people hear estate plan, they often think it's complicated or is something they can just put off. But if you own a home, have savings, or simply want your wishes honored, you already need one. And if dementia ever enters the picture, having that plan moves from important to essential. At Kelly Financial Services, we continue to share our free guide, The Greatest Gift, Outline Your Wishes with an Estate Plan. Families rely on it because it walks through the essentials: wills, living trust, powers of attorney, and protecting your legacy. It's not just paperwork. It's about dignity and making sure your voice is heard. To get your copy or to speak with a Kelly advisor, give us a call or email kelly@kellyfinancial.org. Sandy, I will continue this conversation with our Kelly advisors tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. on Safe Money Strategies Radio. Do tune in or visit our website for our radio rewind. Sandy, have a wonderful weekend.
You too, Kelly, and thank you so much for checking in with us. Your financial security deserves team planning. Call 888-800-1881. That's 888-800-1881. Or email kelly@kellyfinancial.org to request a guide or schedule your free retirement consultation. Go retire with them. Speaking of retirement, we're going to deal with, we're talking about the economy. And if you're nearing retirement age, seeing the economy start to uptick is a very, very important thing, because if you have an IRA or if you have some kind of retirement fund, then you're hoping that it's going to be doing well. And under President Trump, the stock market has done extremely well. So that's one indicia of a good economy, one that's a very bright side. If you're on Social Security or that's part of your retirement plan or all of it, then same thing. You need to see that your money's going to go further. And as we discussed earlier, President Trump has already put into effect with the big, beautiful bill the fact that they're not going to tax Social Security anymore, which is a big plus. And also there is a move afoot to increase the percentage that's paid to people so they can maybe do more than just subsist off of Social Security. So these are all the things that we have to consider. If you live in a blue state, I think you've been dealing with a lot more economic pressures than you are if you're living in a red state. Dan in New Hampshire kind of lives in a purple state, don't you, Dan? How would you describe New Hampshire?
Well, if we can fix our elections, I think we're going to find out we're a little bit redder than we are, Sandy. But I know you're on the economy, so I'll stay on. I'll go on that. I mean, first of all, I got to say we are doing it to ourselves a little bit. I mean, we got to stay away from Amazon and these box stores, and we got to support local businesses. That's number one. Yeah. Okay, that's each other. That's me and you, Sandy.
Yeah.
Okay, and I got to say you're doing a wonderful job, Sandy.
Thank you.
And the other thing is we got to look at the things like the banking system, the corrupt banking system, because Jerome Powell is just a puppet to the banking cartel, the globalist banking cartel. But also the fact we haven't had, Sandy, a market correction, a serious one, since 1990. We remember that, right, Sandy? And that's right after that is when the bank is put in the PMI insurance. It's not for the loan holder. The loan holder is paying for the insurance, but it's to cover for the corrupt, dirty banking cartel, so they don't lose any money. And that's what's a big piece why we haven't had, in these recessions, a serious market correction for the middle-class family. You know, it is good to have a market correction just to keep things from getting out of control. Now, the other problem, Sandy, is it's and you mentioned this, okay, about the where all our pension money is going into BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, okay, and Blackstone, and they're buying everything, Sandy. That's just the fact, okay. So, and when you're looking at things like Blackstone is the biggest landlord in the country. They bought, just during COVID, they bought well over 200,000 housing units, okay, in this country. And they've raised their the rents over 38% in some areas, and in some other areas, well over 50%. So that's what's going on. And if you get the illegals out of here and you got less apartments and more availability, you'll see these prices come down. It's just too many people here. So you bring in 21 million illegal criminals, that's what you get. And the thing is people got to realize Blackstone and BlackRock have deep ties into Chinese investors close to the communist regime. Even in Nashua, a Chinese communist investor, okay, Zhang Shan bought Daniel Webster College for $67 million, overpaying for the property, and it's only evaluated around 12 to 14 million. Okay. Now, this abuts the Nashua Airport. It's near federal buildings, military weapon manufacturers, the public water source. These are all real close. Okay, some abut it, some are down the street. The water source is maybe a half mile, maybe at most. It's unbelievable. You've got multiple airports within 25 miles. Portsmouth Naval Base. You got the Hanscom, right? Airport. You know, this is all within FAA Center that controls the airplanes. Okay, you got the Manchester Airport. This is unbelievable.
Yeah, no, okay? I know it's huge, Dan. But to turn it back to the economy, do you have faith that Donald Trump can get a handle on the Chinese buying up of American resources and help our economy instead of theirs?
Well, I think I think Trump can do that. I mean, I think first of all, everybody's got to, the big problem here is people look at Trump. but we have to help them. The governor's got to help them. We're not going to get help on this, Sandy, from the AOC, because Blackstone is under the biggest investor into that property that I'm talking about that owns that property was BlackRock in Vanguard.
Yep. I understand, Dan. I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate it. And yes, we do need the governor's help. And the governors, to be honest with you, and many states it's not just that you don't like Governor Ayotte or people don't like Governor Newsom. We're not talking about like 2 or 3 governors in the country that are the problem. We're talking about policies, blue progressive policies that have overtaken a number of states that we need to deal with. And I think that President Trump is dealing with them, such as, I mentioned earlier, the DOJ suing California to stop their egg policies. Or in New Jersey, you have an issue because the New York State's Public Service Commission just okayed big national grid rate increases that are pushing many people's bills there up by $600 a month. The things like that, I think that the federal government has to get involved with and stop the wholesale assaults on the state taxpayers by their progressive governments. But, the problem is that you can only help people if they want to be helped. And so I think if people realize that the economy is getting better, that we're starting to move forward, they will be more friendly to allowing Donald Trump's policies to become effective and be more supportive of them and less tolerant of the blue state governors like Hochul, like Newsom, like Maura Healey, as well. I think that's part of what's happening. I think if people realize that there is a light coming at you, it's not another train, it's the light at the end of the tunnel on an economic level, then maybe there'll be more support for the current administration and less support for pie in the sky progressive administrations that have run us into the ground. Just a thought. 617-266-6868 is the number here. Let's go to Andy in Milford. Andy, is your economy getting better?
Yes. Sandy, I've been enjoying this time we've been having with you this morning on air. Yes, my economy's definitely been getting better. My 401k since Trump has been back in the White House, way up.
Yeah, the stock market is way up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you've got a 401k or an IRA, I mean, you've got skin in the stock market. That matters. And
hang on for a second, Andy. We have to go into a break. We're up against a hard break. This is Sandy Shack sitting in for Jeff Cooner here on the Cooner Report. We were talking with Andy from Milford before we were so rudely interrupted by that commercial break, Andy. I'm sorry.
Yes, Sandy. To pick up where I left off. So, I mean, things have definitely gotten better since Trump has been back in the White House. And one telltale sign is ever since Trump, in conjunction with Tom Homan, has been rounding up these dangerous criminal illegals and getting them out of the country, crime has been dropping precipitously. So, the Democrats can crow all they want about Trump dictator, Trump meanie, all of this, but the numbers don't lie. The crime is noticeably dropping, and the people see it.
What did you think, Andy, of President Trump's idea of painting the southern wall black so it would heat up in the sun?
I think good idea. Just the color black, and just because of the way the sun is down there on the southern border, that wall's all steel. So painting it black's going to make it hotter.
Yeah.
So a lot of the illegals aren't even going to try to scale the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, good idea.
Good idea, yeah. No, I agree with you, Andy. I think that President Trump's policies on illegal immigration are going to have already started to have profound economic impact on us, which is part of his multi-pronged attack on the economy, I'm assuming. Besides his tariffs, which I think were a masterstroke, despite all of the poo-pooing and naysaying that was done by the Democrats on it, I think it's been a brilliant move, and is starting to pay our out of control debt down. I think it's been very positive. I think people need a little patience, just a little patience, because as I said earlier in the show, the economy is a massive, ship, a huge, aircraft carrier type ship, and you just can't stop it and change direction on day one. You have to make incremental degrees of turns, and the ship eventually goes where you want it to go, but it takes a long time to get there. And I think if people are honest about it and look at their day-to-day lives and see the little indicia, the little bits of evidence that show that things are getting better, they can be more hopeful about maybe a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, things will be a lot better. That's what I think is going to happen. Thank you so much for the call, Andy. I appreciate it very much. Let's go to Jeff in Southbridge. Jeff, welcome to WRKO. How are you?
Good. How are you, Sandy?
I'm fine. Are you seeing any positive changes in your own economy?
Well, not so much yet. Gas prices here where I am seem to be kind of stagnant. They seem to be staying pretty much where they've been. But first of all, I want to think you are doing a great job filling in for Jeff. And I've been listening to Jeff for a long time, way back even when he had his afternoon show. But what I wanted to make a point of is now I'm 68 years old. I was retired on Social Security. I had to go back to work. I couldn't survive on Social Security. My insurance bill this year for my house has gone up $500 over last year. What I'm unhappy about with my Social Security is that now I've gone back to work full time. I still have to pay into Social Security. So I'm paying myself to get my checks. Once you go on Social Security, of course I can work all I want now and not be penalized.
Yeah.
But they're taking Social Security payments out of my paycheck every week.
Yeah, that's
to me,
galling.
that shouldn't happen.
Yeah, that's galling.
That shouldn't happen.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm with you on that. So I think there's a lot of room in the Social Security system for improvement. That's definitely one of them, along with giving a bigger cost of living raise, I think, too, is part of it. But at least you have to agree, Jeff, that not paying taxes on your Social Security is a step in the right direction.
Absolutely, Sandy. It's absolutely a step in the right direction. But if President Trump's people are listening, maybe they've overlooked this particular aspect of it, where that shouldn't be. When you're on Social Security, if you go back to work, you shouldn't be taxed. You shouldn't be paying into that Social Security, because I'm not going to reap any benefit for that.
Yeah. No, that's right. I completely agray with you. Agree with you.
And as much as I love what President Trump is doing for us, a lot of what he's doing is in executive orders. And what I'm concerned about is if we don't maintain control of the White House in the next set, what I'm concerned about is that a lot of those executive orders will be overturned or withdrawn.
I think that's a reasonable fear, which is why we need to keep control of Congress and the Senate, and not just the White House. I think you really need to have a bigger footprint and a bigger margin than what exists now. I think that's going to happen. It looks like that's going to happen. Thank you for the call, Jeff. I appreciate it very much. Let's go to Joe in Quincy. Joe, welcome to WRKO. How are you?
Hi, Sandy. Thank you for taking my call. You're doing a great job for Jeff, too.
Thank you.
And as far as the economy, I think the economy is going to get better with the Fed rates. If the Fed rates come down, I think the gasoline is still, can come down more. And if Trump gets more, oil drilling and they start producing more oil, I think the economy will start getting better too.
What do you think is more important for the economy, Joe? The stop of illegal immigration or energy independence?
I say a little of both right now because the illegal immigration is really taking a toll on the country. I mean, it's like you even mentioned about our health care. All our rental, for rentals, for home prices, for our insurance, everything in that respect just keeps going up.
Yeah, no, it's true. It does, and hopefully that will stop soon. Sorry, we have to stop you there because we are at the end of the show.